The end is here. The end of a 10-year run of a fantastic show with ups and downs and upside down with Stranger Things season 5 finale ending on New Year's Eve. And I have conflicting feelings. After a horrendous volume 2, I'm about to say to hell with this show, but after at the end of the finale, your boy was in tears, but for different reasons. Now, I'm not gonna say it was perfect, you know, episode, but that last 10 minutes, it's crisp. It was crisp, and it hit the inner child nerd in me. That's now, adult. So, yeah. But we're gonna get into it. J King, overall thoughts. What was your feeling once the door was closed? Mike walking up, they're finishing their final session of D&D, while we see Holly and her new friends who went through a traumatic experience together. Now they're starting their journey of D&D, and then he looks at them, reminiscent of the past. That now times have changed and are going to change. And then he closes the door. End of Stranger Things. What was your thoughts?
My thoughts when it came to that final moment was just like it, as you said, it's just that realization. It's like, Jesus Christ, like it's over. It's like the moment they get up, put their books away, literally it's like them putting away the childhood that they have spent in show 4 years, but in our time like 10 years, you know, like they're putting all that away and moving on and growing up. And just the realization of that was just so emotional. Like, if you guys want to see our in real time reaction to that, go look at Ronan Unchanged channel. He has our reaction to it. But it's like you could just see like that moment was just a very nice bookend, not just to end it where it started, but just the weight of what it had. There's a lot we could say about this finale, but those last 3 scenes of the show definitely make you just realize that, yeah, it's all over and you're gonna miss this show regardless of your feelings towards it.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that why I cry at the end was because one, this show represented the inner child, the nerd, right? Whether it might be D&D for you, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever, even anime, whatever that might be for you. We all have a cornerstone memory in the back of our head of us growing up with our friends, loving what we love, which is these amazing IPs in this genre, right? Of being a nerd, right? But yet, as all of us, in the cards of life, we age, we get older, we live our lives and we drift apart. But then also we have moments we remember the childhood of times that were just simpler, right? And that ending kind of solidified that in a beautiful way. But also the cycle becoming full circle when we see Holly and her friends, starting their D&D journey and everything. And then it's just, that's what it to me was the culmination. What this show was all about, the nerd community, and being a nerd with your friends, right? Amongst all existential factors that might play into it, but also that, us being lovers of this IP and this genre, we end up learning, deeper ideas of who we are as a person, and as we grow in terms of our character and who we are as human beings, right? And appreciate the people that come along that journey, right? And I think that, to me, that was a beautiful ending on there. Now I want to get into one of the main problems I have with this episode, really with this whole show, really, is the ending that they gave 11. I was not happy with the ending and what it also tells to the hero, or the person that is done right, or the victim, that person that is abused, right? Because this is twice as happened this year, or this calendar year, was with Stranger Things, with 11 being persecuted to the point that she had to fake her own death to not only save her friends, but also to escape the government trying to capture her and recreate her abilities with other people for the military, right? Just as in Wicked, Elphaba has to fake her own death also for her doing the right thing, and yet she's being out as the villain. She continuously being chased, and yet now she has to fake her death in order to do what is right for the common ground. And yet she's going out into the wasteland all by herself. Well, with Fiero, but in this case with 11, she's all by herself, and they don't have the happy ending other than peace, as you just say, right? And what does that tell you in terms of someone that is doing the right thing, or a person that has been abused and as a victim since day one, right? Now saying, no, you don't get a happy ending. You don't get to, everybody else around you would get their happy ending, but you continue to suffer in isolation. Because that's just how the cards of life that you dealt with, right? And to me, I think if out of any character that deserves a happy ending, it's her. And we've seen plenty of times throughout, multiple seasons, season two, or well, actually, well, yeah, season three and season four, of her actually trying to be a normal girl, amongst all the factors that come into, her life. But yet, that fact, there's a possibility that you can live a normal life. But yet, in this case, there've been constantly where I felt that Millie, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, I felt Millie checked out this season. I felt that she was ready for this show to be over. And I felt, literally, I made a joke like, oh yeah, if anyone's gonna die, it's gonna be her because she's too damn expensive. Yeah, because I thought if anyone was going to die, it's gonna be her. But also, if anyone else was gonna die, it's gonna be some existential, like maybe D level characters, not of the main core cast, right? Which adds to another problem: the size of this cast. Because the biggest thing people will be mad is that they didn't kill nobody. They didn't kill nobody or anybody of significance. And even the person that you think that they killed supposedly is left alive. I believe, right? Do you believe, J. King?
I mean, I would like to believe, but at the same time, I'm also like, given just how it went, there are definitely holes that can make you think, oh, there's a chance. But then there are also ones that you're like, but wait, how would this have been executed in such a short amount of time? And yes, that is a whole thing about how Eleven's story ended. I know the Duffer Brothers had said that there really wasn't much of like an idea of a reality where 11 could have survived, especially with the military continuously on her ass. And it's like that does go into a problem of like just the military's use, or Dr. K's use in this season, because it's like that could have been resolved if maybe we had an extra episode, or if there was an episode specifically dedicated to stopping the military and their experiments. Yes, their experiments that were still in the Upside Down are all gone, but just stopping them from continuing Papa's project on the right side up. There maybe should have been an episode dedicated to that, to stopping that amongst the Vecna stuff. I know that would have been like, oh, there's too many conflicts, but it's like that's a loose hanging thread, especially when the fact that the military just basically dips after 11 is quote unquote dead again. Who knows, dead, whatever the case, but they literally just dip. So again, it's a whole thing. I get it, if as long as this person continues to exist or exist in the minds of people, the conflict is never going to end. But there are some points where you do just kind of want a character to have a happy ending, especially when practically everybody else in our main ensemble got their happy ending. They got to graduate, or they got to go to college, or even just discover who they are, or starting new friendships along the way and all that stuff. And she is the only character. I get it. I understand where the Duffer Brothers are coming from, but at the same time, it's like I kind of would like to know. And that's also the thing, because they said that the only people that know are them and Millie. They even told Millie not to tell Noah if she's actually alive or not. So it's like, who the hell knows at this point?
Right. And not only that, you mentioned a few things that I felt with the cast, because again, I think that one of the biggest issues of this entire show, the fact that the cast is too large to a point where, not that we're spending any time with the actual characters we care about, but the fact of you have so many storylines overlapping with each other to that point that yes, it's an ensemble show, but there's a level of balance that you can have where, hey, if we actually shaved about maybe 4 or 5 characters out of the 12 that we got or something like that, maybe we can actually have a more concise story that actually make it more impactful. And listen, I'm not trying to say that you need to have a death at the end of a show to feel it significant. I actually, understand the going against that trope, but the fact of this show going in extraterrestrial, over the top things, and like there are people that should have died this season, that like literally should have died, but yet for sake of plot and armor and whatever you want to call it, like, oh no, they're still alive, some form of fashion and stuff. And then some people that's like, well, where's the stakes? Where's the the emotional payoff to that? But I also want to get into really mainly between with Will and Vecna, because Will was one of my biggest issues with volume 2, also, obviously because of Notorious episode 7 episode of volume 2. of him coming out saying that that he's gay, that he doesn't like girls, but yet the fact that Vecna revealed that to him, a version of everyone not trying to accept him, right? And to me, I feel it completely undermined. Not only it stunned the momentum of me going into this finale, but it completely undermined what Volume 1, why I felt it ended so great, with Will coming to his own when you see he had his powers revealed, but yet the way they did it is that he's coming full acceptance of who he is, right? Now, yes, we know he's gay. It's implied, and we know that it's implied that he's gay over many times in multiple seasons, but with that scene, it's like, no, you're not making his identity the fact that he is gay. You're making the fact that he is Will, right? And I mean that in a way of like, okay, well, we can do representation, but we're not going to actually stop the story when literally we got Vecna and everybody else, Vecna trying to, end this entire world. Guys, I need to sit and talk to you. I don't like girls. Like, it's like Lucas sitting down, everybody say, guys,
I'm black.
What?
Are you serious? That's why you got that Tyler Perry wig on. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
We accept you. It only took him. It only took him 8 episodes to actually get a hairline. To actually get a shape up and stuff. It only took graduation. God. That's when you get a lineup, right? Because the barber was upside down. That's what happened.
Again, guys, go look at Ronan Unchanged channel. You need to see when he saw Lucas's hairline got fixed.
Finally got his haircut situated.
With hospitals.
Cut your hair! Yes! Fuck yeah! Yeah!
We're graduating today.
Yeah! Line up! We're getting to the 90s! Yeah!
I do have to say, it's like, a lot of people are gonna say like, oh, like the scene needed to happen. It's like, yes, but if anything, that scene should have happened the first episode of Volume 2 and not with everybody. It should have been with specifically the people that it would have made sense to have this conversation with, and immediately after the whole powers moment, like once Volume 2 kicked in and everyone regrouped, maybe then have the conversation at least a little bit into it. I feel like that would have been much better and wouldn't have stunted anything.
Right. And me, it pissed me off because this is what, when we're talking about the wokeness or talking about the representation or DEI or all the things that a lot of people complain about, right? And then you have people who advocate for representation of black characters, gay characters, whoever, just existing in terms of who they are, but yet you're allowing these characters to fit into the story, and then yet you end up giving the representation, but also you're just telling a great story. But what happened is that when you have the representation being the message and not part of the plot of the story, that where we're actually halting narrative weight here of moving this story along just because you just want to tell something one that we already know, and low-key, I'm not even gonna say low-key, it's redundant. It's redundant, and I think it undermines a great moment. I thought that was like, oh yeah, I know that scene of episode 4, Will getting his powers, has multiple meanings because the fact, yes, that he is in dealing with intersexuality. Yes, he had that conversation with Robin, but that moment was so powerful, only to undermine it by saying, guys, everyone, even the person I don't even know, I don't think we ever had scenes together. Yeah, you two. You two, guy in the back. Yeah, come here. Yeah, I got something to tell you.
It's like fucking telling your damn pizza delivery guy about it. But no, you also want to talk about redundant. It's the way that Netflix has made them have the dialogue within this show. I understand that they got to describe shit, but they don't got to dumb it down for us. Like it didn't hit me in some parts because it's like, yeah, we do need to like lay out the plan, but there are other parts where I'm just like, we're not 5 and not everyone's doom scrolling on their phones. We're paying attention.
Right. Like, I know we like D&D, we like Star Wars, we like this, we like that. I'm like, I'm no different from...
We get it, Will.
We get it. And I've talked to a lot of my friends who are gay, and they came to me because they knew I'm a critic, and like, Mike, I'm just letting you know, we also agree this is some bullshit. Okay, great. I want to get your perspective because I also don't want to misspeak on said community because I'm not part of it. Never have been, never will be. But what I'm saying is saying that I want to understand the perspective because, again, people would be called, oh, you're just homophobic because you didn't like that scene. No, this is what they're talking about. Just as we see films like Sinners or American Fiction, how they highlight having positive black representation, also in some forms educating you in a supernatural story of actual history, right? And not letting the race be the point of the story, but the setting, of it. It's part of the story, and it's not nor distracting for the sake of messaging, but the sake of just telling a great story. And I'm the same with that scene, especially this ending episode. I was just so frustrated to the point I'm just ready for this show to end. And it's not go have an issue with gay representation. It's just for me personally, I felt that was really redundant and honestly was not written well. And you can say some people say some of the performances probably wasn't even the best. Like it's strange how stranger things. It's strange how that how some of these characters or these actors were actually better actors when they were kids and then now when they're adults. And some of them, not all of them, but some like, you know what, you were better in season 2 when you were like 14. It's like is that strange to say that? But anyway,
yeah.
But also redundancy. I felt like even some plots with Nancy and Jonathan, I just felt they're unproposal. I felt like I understood where they were going with that, but to me, it just felt like, okay, if you were going to go down this route, why even pursue having this relationship in the first place and have this ended in some form of season 3 or season 4 when he went to California or whatever, and it just to me, like, listen, if you're going to go down a route, let it be that route. But it's just like, and only for Nancy at the end be like, oh yeah, remember that whole thing? I'm gonna go be independent. Guess what? I threw that plan out the window. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm like, what the hell? It's like there's some people who have dated individuals who can't make their damn mind up. I don't care if this is 1989, 89, whatever, right? I'm like, still, it's like these tropes, even relationships, like, yeah, it shows the human, like, realistic factor of that, but to me, I just felt so redundant. I don't know. What was your thoughts in terms of like some of the relationship dynamics here, and like even like they're trying to make that whole love triangle relationship, even with Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy? I just felt that was like, if it wasn't go nowhere, why even have it in the first place?
I think even Steve was thinking that, because it's like everyone thought he was trying to go for Nancy again, and he's like, no, I already know that she and I are not going to be a thing. We're just friends at this point. And like even he felt tired of it. And it's like, on some cases, yeah, I get it, especially given the fact that right when that whole, California shit happened, immediately after, the whole world like split open, at the end of season 4. So I get that maybe they were just too busy with the crawls and trying to survive and all that stuff to really have this conversation. And I know that certain circumstances can actually make you guys finally have a conversation, but it's like at the same time, and I'm not mad at the fact that they didn't end up staying together, because yes, while I do like Nancy and Jonathan, they also have their own problems that I'm just like, okay, that's realistic, that, maybe they love each other, but it's not perfect. But there could have been many, many better ways to go about it, because you had this whole thing of Jonathan trying to propose to Nance, trying to give her that ring, thinking that this is the one thing to amend things, and it's like, if you were going to go down this route, why even tease that? Like, why even tease the fact of him trying to fix things or trying to make sure it's like, either commit to they have problems and that they need to break up now, or commit to he wants to fix things and she also wants to fix things so that they can have some sort of future. It's like, make your mind up. And I get that that's real life too. Trust me, I completely get it. But they're adults. Like by that time, before even the 18 months time skip, they were already adults. So they should have had their minds made up about this.
Yeah, and also going to like the conclusion of the show with Vecna, like it also, we cannot talk about this without adding the Stranger Things Broadway play, which much as I think is a great production, and I think it's a great idea, of adding just another piece of content, just like Marvel when they did the Rogers, the musical and everything, but this, you're adding crucial exposition on a Broadway play that most people haven't seen unless they watch New Rock Stars or new other videos breaking this stuff down. Is also giving homework of something that doesn't make any sense for some people. Like even when it came to the stone, right? The Sorcerer's Stone from Harry Potter, that they have, in that box that he opened, and then they see Voldemort's spirit came in and got into Vecna, and then he
Okay,
became,
stop. Okay, stop
but
it. Stop it.
but I'm just saying, like, this felt like, okay, I know there's gonna be some explanation or a prequel show or maybe whatever of what meaning of where that stone came from and stuff. But to me, it's just like, what's the point of this? It's like, if it came from the Dimension X or the Abyss or whatever that might be, where I just felt like, are you requiring viewers to go watch a Broadway play in order to get this exposition at the end? Because even then, I'm like, I didn't watch the Broadway play. I'm watching this like, where the hell is this stone is? Like, what is this? Right? And then you get the reveal at the last second. Now, what we already knew, that Vecna was controlled by the Mind Flayer, but even though I use Voldemort for a reason, because basically Henry Creel, he's Tom Riddle. He's literally Tom Riddle as a child. And the fact that, like, yes, he has some bad things that have happened to him, but also he's willingly choosing to participate in this. So he's like, yeah, when he said we are one, right? And it's like, that's like, yeah, you kill Vecna, you kill the Mind Flayer, but then yet making it more of like, I needed more exposition, more of the Mind Flayer of this, because it's just like, yeah, we got that element in a little bit of season 4, and but him also consuming Billy in season 3, but really we find out that was actually Vecna, whatever. But anyway, like, it's like, I just felt that it should be a more concise exposition, but more impactful, other than just kind of going to this, like, wait, where the stone came from.
I haven't seen the play, but it's like, I know the details about it, and it's like, even with this stone, there's not much. Now, the Duffers did say that stone is leading into the spinoff, so it's like, I guess we'll get more info on where this came from, where the Lovecraftian, being of the Mind Flayer and all came from. But it's like, it's like, I also really like the Broadway play in terms of what it explained, but looking at it and with how Stranger Things' finale did, it's like, it basically just became not homework, but basically it didn't even make much, because the whole scene where Max and Eleven and Kali are going through that play, like, they don't even mention the fact that up above, Henry is going through one of the most traumatic moments with Patty Newby. Again, look that up. But it's like, that's happening. He's like, no, it's just, we just need to go through here just to get through and get to Henry in the current time that we're looking for. It's like, not even, it's like, the play is a good thing, and it's good to see references to it, even seeing young Joyce and young Hopper and finding out what Mr. Wheeler is doing in the back. But at the same time, it just feels like, okay, we didn't want to explore this anymore. And again, yes, the Duffer said we will, especially when the spinoff that does not take place in Hawkins or have anything to do with the Upside Down, but we will find out what it is. But still, it's another one of those things where it's like, some people are going to feel like this is homework. I don't see it like that, but I know there's going to be a good amount of people that are going to be like, wait, so I need to understand this play to understand. It's like, not really. You don't really need to. It's like, if you want to go look at the play, sure, I'd recommend it, because it's a really cool exploration into Henry Creel's past, some of the stuff you don't see in the show. But I don't know, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and me personally, like, okay, we have the final battle where the Mind Flayer is now, basically we found out these kids are just feeding this Mind Flayer energy to actually be this bigger, being, right? Which to me, I literally, when I saw this scene, I'm like, this is like season 3 all over again. Like, I literally, like, and then you're cornering him in a tight space, and then you just throwing firecrackers and all flamethrower, everything to burn this thing. It literally is the exact same thing, with like minor differences or whatever because of the children, but like it felt kind of repetitive for me. Like we've seen this before. Like, just another mutated spider. Like, oh, here's our kaiju like battle, and I'm like, and then we saw 11 coming through. I was like, okay, is she gonna fly? Is she gonna do some Jean Grey type stuff or some Phoenix Force? Whatever. I don't know, but and when we jump and she jumps into the Mind Flayer, have this final battle with Vecna. I thought it was, it was energetic and too, but having everybody kind of collaborate in this is like, one question: where are the Demogorgons? Where are the Demodogs? Where are all those creatures? At all? And then they don't say convenience, and now we find out that theory is out the window. Oh no, Those Demogorgons were not used to make the body of the Mind Flayer. That's not true. That's been debunked. So now at this point, I'm like, that is a plot hole. Like, oh well, he just, he was just focused on this, whatever. Like that. No, I rebuke.
Yeah, no, that is the stupidest thing. Like the Duffers literally said, it's like, oh, he wasn't expecting the attack. It's like, even if he wasn't, the moment they started attacking, he should have called everything.
Especially as a hive mindset and everything that's connected and all these things. It's just like, listen, you knew these people were coming, and not only that, you had bats in season 4. You had all these things that was eating up people, eat up freaking Johnny Storm from the Hellfire Club. So it's just like it and you had the arsenal that you had the arsenal. So don't tell me all of a sudden it just take this girl just to to Jean Grey push you, whatever, after Will just takes your hand off, wherever, right? And then you get impaled. And then only for now, even also coming with the part, he gets impaled, and then we find like this is the end, right? And then all of a sudden we have Joyce come up and she has the axe and basically saying the words,
"You fuck with the wrong family, right?"
Which, okay, as a mother who's been put through all that traumatic experience with her son, I'm like, all right, that makes sense, right? And out of everybody, the only person I really felt for this was Will. If like his flashback scenes, like of him, like when he was a kid, yelling at the Mind Flayer, "Go away, go away!" And I said, I just wish this was over, right? And she's hacking, him, right? Those flashbacks. But then when you get to everybody and their mama flashbacks, after each hack, like, this is a moment for everybody. You get a hack. You get a hack. You get a hack. This hack for you, Lucas. Okay. Boom. Like, that's what I'm saying. Just like repetitive. Like, I'm not saying that I think conceptually was wrong, but I'm just like, you can allow this to pay more off. And also, mind you, Joyce, from the research I did, this was a former classmate of yours that you knew.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's really strange at the moment, like, especially when they refer to him as Henry a few times, that it doesn't click to her. Wait, Henry Creel, the same dude that was in my play, which was the same play that was going on in that, like, not even one, like, nothing. I mean, I'm not expecting some big conversation, but I'm just like, nothing, Joyce? But I will say I did actually. Right, but I will say I actually did like that I say Will's and 11's ones were the ones that hit the most, but everyone else, I still liked it, but it's like, Dustin seeing Eddie, or Lucas remembering when Max almost died, or Holly with her mom. I get it. Like, conceptually, it's good, and the way that the music is playing with it, and the way that it's like it works well. But to the fact that only 2 of them, maybe 3.5, maybe like 2.5 really worked for me. Like, the fact that really only 2.5 of them really worked for me, that again being Will, 11, and a little bit with Eddie, with Dustin. The fact that only those ones really worked. Like it's just, I don't know. Again, it's not a bad moment whatsoever. And I really like the fact that Joyce was the one to end it, especially given the fact she felt like it's all her fault for not really paying attention to the fact that Will wasn't
protecting
home.
Will.
But right. But it's like, I don't know, maybe something better could have been done with it. Like, not take it away, but just improve.
Make it more concise, make it more, I think it's more trimming the fat off of it, of this entire show. Because conceptually you have good things here that work. I'm not gonna be naive with that at all, but I just think that's where like the payoff could have been more great. But the fact that we went through all of this emotional roller coaster only for now to 11 sacrifice herself allegedly for this. Again, now Mick and Callie, redeem in her dying breath. Literally when she got the bullet, I was just like, bye-bye. Like, I just like, but then to wait this entire time of that event of Vecna and everything, you are bleeding out, and then that's when you create your little hallucination to have 11 escape. I call BS on that. That is the only plot hole I have. It's like, wait, you mean tell me she's been bleeding out for 45 minutes or something for them to get to the abyss, get out of the abyss? Wait, not only that, fight Vecna and the big kaiju Mind Flayer. Then you got to hack Vecna, decapitate him, then rescue the 12 kids out of him, and then go back out of of the abyss, go through the upside down, and then to come out of the upside down. And now it's like, all right, everyone's back. All right, cool. Pull it. You know?
No. You see, and here's the crazy thing. I literally a few hours ago saw a like video cam footage that showed that maybe that whole Cali thing was BS, because I think there's a moment where you do see 11 slip when the military show up. You do see her slip out their arms and run back to the portal, and no one notices. So, like, why?
But either way, it just, to go wrap things up here, I just felt that the last 10 minutes of this show was a nice bow on a very flawed season. But my final memory of this show is not a bad one. That's the thing. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And again, even with trimming some fat, like there's some things where even the last ending, like, hey, do I really need to see an ending of, you know, some of these characters? Like, really the main, you know, characters really is the core four, you know, Mike, Will, Lucas, and, you know, Dustin. And it's like, you know, and then we also have, you know, addition of Max and everything like that. But like, that's the core of how this whole show kind of started with that. So, and I like how they ended off that, you know, being a symbolic completion and then starting, you know, the end of one thing and the beginning of another. But yeah, what was just your final thoughts in terms of your final thought and emotion out of this entire show?
My final thoughts when it comes to this whole thing is that, and especially when looking at those last three scenes, the scenes that I really enjoyed out of this, it made me realize that the heart in this show isn't in the action or the budget, because I think as the budget increased, some things kind of took a back seat. But it's like when you get to those last three moments, it makes you understand it's like the Duffers are much more better at directing people and emotions and connections, and that shows through the fact of, you know, the older teens, now adults, you know, reminiscing on, you know, the fact that ain't nobody gonna replace their friends, or, you know, Hopper and Joyce now getting married, or our core, you know, part of our core four, you know, core five going, like, you know, putting the books away and, you know, moving on to everything else. It really makes you just think, it's like, as you said, the last memory you're gonna have of the show is not a bad one. And despite how flawed this show has gotten at some times, or how over the top it's gotten at some times, or how much we wish things could have been better written or better scripted or better directed, you know, or better choices, regardless of the fact, Stranger Things has been a thing for practically all of us for the last decade. And you just remember that this is a show about nerds loving what they love and sticking together and found family. And, you know, even with a large cast, you know, the found family aspect is the thing that I really love about this. I mean, Dustin even said it. Without some of these circumstances, some of them wouldn't even be his friends or his family in the sense. And that's just something that I will always remember, is the connection between these guys, brotherhood wise, sisterhood wise, romantic wise, all of that. Like, that is something that's going to stick. I had really not remembered the freaking kaiju battle, because it's like, that wasn't the important thing for me. Nor was, you know, outside of the chopping, the final battle against Vecna. My final thoughts are going to always be with that ending, you know, ending moments. And that's because that's the thing Stranger Things excels at, in my opinion. It's a flawed show, but at the same time, it's perfect in terms of what it does right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when it, you know, they do right, when it hits hard, you know. And I can say, you know, I'm happy that we at least had this show. Again, had that, you know, moment right before the new year hit, of just reminding me of the friends I grew up with, but also the new friends I have, and you know, just not being, you know, sad or devastated about, you know, the present, but actually just being appreciative, you know, of the people that you have along the way and how much you've grown, you know. And then having this show to remind you a little piece of your childhood, and stuff, because life is hard. And then, you know, we have these things to kind of like be our anchor to hold us down to who we are. So, but that concludes our review. Make sure you subscribe button, comment, like, and share. Let us know your thoughts on the Stranger Things finale. Would you like it or dislike it? We'll probably maybe do more videos regarding Stranger Things because there's possibly a missing episode or something. I don't believe it, but we'll see. We'll see what they got in store and everything. But even with the Duffer Brothers and what they have next going on, but whether we do a video essay on Stranger Things in the future, we'll see. We'll debate on that. But make sure you hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share. Let us know your thoughts. We'll see you guys next video. Peace.